This week I learned being stabbed multiple times doesn't matter. Just walk it off. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another weekly update, weekend edition, because I did have a live show last night, so kind of moved this to Saturday, because that's just a fun thing to do. So nice, bright, early Saturday morning, get a cup of coffee, do a weekly update. These are the things in life that matter, guys. So fun week coming up on the end of August here. It's always exciting when you're trying to wrap up everything that you are reading for the month, and that's a good place to start, guys, with what am I reading, guys. I did finish Locked Doors and Break You by Blake Crouch. That is the ending of the Andrew Z. Thomas Luther Kite series. Now, he does continue with one of these characters in a different series that he co-wrote with someone else, but as for now, I am concluding that series. I didn't like it as much as Desert Places. A lot of good stuff in there. I feel like you got a lot more characters besides Andrew, because Desert Places was all from Andrew Z. Thomas's point of view. This one, you get the point of view of Luther. You get the point of view of several other side characters. And I felt like that kind of distracted from the story with just the cat and mouse game between Andrew and Luther. But again, guys, it's Blake Crouch. The guy just doesn't miss with me. It's thrilling. It's much more disturbing if you've read more of his more recent stuff, because it is dealing with a serial killer, and no one, and I mean no one or nothing, is safe when it comes to Blake Crouch in these early years, apparently, because he does some stuff. I'm just like, man, I still think that Desert Places was a bit more disturbing. This has a bit more stuff of maybe harm coming to people that you wouldn't expect it to be. But it's still a very, very thrilling conclusion. I was rather surprised with what he did in Break You, which was very much like an epilogue to Locked Doors, because it really was short. It was like 80 pages, and it was just straight meat, and it just got right to the point. No sidetracking at all. Not that there really is any serious sidetracking, I feel like, in a Blake Crouch book, but I do feel like this one was maybe a little less focused than Desert Places was. And again, I think that's just because he introduced several new characters into the story, and it kind of detracted from that narrative that he chose in the first book, I think. But again, another thrilling adventure with Blake Crouch. The guy, like I said, doesn't miss. I think next up I'm going to do Snowbound. No idea when yet, but usually it goes a couple months before I'm itching to get back into that universe. But I'm sadly coming up on the end of his entire bibliography here, except stuff that he's co-wrote. I might have to actually dip into some of that. But yeah, again, guys, probably my favorite contemporary author right now. I love Blake Crouch. I don't think he misses at all, and I can recommend Locked Doors, Break You, and, of course, Desert Places if you're not sensitive to really, really shocking serial killer things. So if you're one of those people who watches all those true crime documentaries, you'll be fine. You will be fine. Also, guys, I finished City of Dragons. Now, me and Philip talked about this last night, but in case you missed that, I think this is the best of the Rainwild so far. Book 3 was the one that I was told was pretty good. And it was. Look, I still don't really like Damara. I don't really care for Tats or Rapskull. I think Centaura is terrible. I don't really care for that CW drama that's going on, because I think someone put it this way last night. Live Ship Traders, I like the family drama because it was adult family drama. This, I don't like the drama because it's just high school teen melodrama, I think. So I feel like maybe if I had read this when I was a bit younger, maybe in the high school range, I'd probably be clicking with that story a little more. However, this book does something, and again, this is out of context. I don't feel like it's going to spoil anything for you. She does something in this book with a thing called a memory stone. And to me, that is where Robin Hobb cashes them checks, because that was good stuff. I love all that. The way she builds her world, the way she does the lore, the history of this universe. So good. And now I'm reading that, and I'm like, this is what I've been waiting for in the Rainwilds. This is good stuff. So that was really, really great. I like the setup for where it's going. Hopefully, Book 4 is more like this and less like Books 1 and 2. I think Book 1 and 2, I felt like you almost could have summed up into a prologue for this book, because this actually feels like almost where it should have started, really. So that's where I'm at with it. On schedule, should be finishing Rainwilds in September, and then it'll be, guys, very exciting to get into the final trilogy of the Realm of the Eldlings. Weird. I feel like this series was on my bucket list forever. Now I'm coming up on the close of it. Very, very exciting, but also very, very bittersweet. Now, you guys know I did have The Toll by Neil Shusterman on my TBR. That was the last thing I had left to read in August. I just had a moment of, you know what? I'm just going to read what I want to read, guys, and I decided to pick up The Passage. Now, I am going to move The Toll to September. This was on my September TBR, so I just flipped them. Really, that's what I did. But guys, this is good. This is very, very good. Now, look, I'm only about a quarter into it, but I can say that I agree with all the recommendations I got about comparing it to Stephen King. I get a lot of Stephen King stuff. I get a lot of Swan Song out of the beginning of this. And guys, you don't remember, Swan Song was my book of the year last year. So I'm really excited for where it is headed. I know there apparently is something very divisive in this book. Like, I know there is like a big time jump or something that people are either on board with or they are not. I feel like with this, you're dealing with the pre-apocalypse moment. And of course, then the apocalypse happens. We're not going to do that in real time. We're going to flash forward to many, many years after the apocalypse has happened. I'm guessing. So I feel like going into it and knowing that, sure, that can help. But I don't feel like that would, take me out of it. I don't know. I guess we'll see. We'll see, because it seems like a lot of people really, really like this book, and then they get to the halfway point and their opinion goes one way where they really either seriously love it or they're like, whatever on it. But I love the way he's writing his characters. And I say in that Stephen King way where he's presenting them like really, really extremely damaged characters. It's bleak. It's these characters have some bad stuff that's happened. They got a lot of baggage. And I think that that's really, really well written. I think that you're spending that much time with these characters that are damaged and you're actually invested in their story, then you'll care when the apocalypse happens and bad things presumably happen to them. So I don't feel like that's like a lot of people are like, I don't know why you would waste that much time developing a character that's not going to be a huge, huge part of your story. Guys, go and read it. Stephen King spends almost 100 pages giving backstory to Stan, and let's just say Stan isn't in the rest of the story. So, I think that you can do that if you're a really good writer. And so far, Joseph Cronin seems like a pretty good writer. So I'm all on board for this story right now. I'm really excited where it's going. It's huge, but I feel like I've just kind of coasted through the first 25% of it. Really am liking it a lot. So I hope that continues. Now, there's a lot of people who've been begging me to read this for years. And I know I keep saying it feels like it came out of nowhere. I've heard the recommendations over the years I've been doing this channel, but it seems like it's just hit a fever pitch lately. And I'm glad I moved it up because it's really good. It's as advertised up to this point. So what am I going to read, guys? Obviously, I'm going to keep working on The Passage. That's probably all I'm going to do this week. I'll probably finish The Ice. That is the e-arc of the next novella by Ryan Cahill, set in The Bound and the Broken. I'm about halfway through it right now. It's only like 200 pages, guys, so I can probably finish that up just like in one sitting. But I do owe Ryan a blurb, hopefully, for him to use for the physical release of the book here. And, I got to get that done here in the next couple of days. So I'll probably finish that up this weekend. And then you guys know I did do a video recently about popular sci-fi that I want to read. And I did pick up one off that list. If you watched my TBR video, I'm going to be doing Flowers for Algernon. That's going to kind of be kicking off September for me. The reason I picked that one, it's kind of short. It's not too deep into the sci-fi because I do have The Expanse and I don't want to do too, pew pew spaceship stuff, at the same time. So I picked Flowers for Algernon first. I kind of almost went with Mechanical for Leibowitz, but I'm like, no, if I'm doing The Passage, I only want to do one post-apocalyptic book at a time. So I thought Flowers for Algernon was the best pick. Forever War came in second there, so that one will probably be early. Probably next after Flowers for Algernon. So I'm excited to get into some of those big heavy hitters of science fiction. And Flowers for Algernon is just one that it's like I said, you usually have the people being like, oh my God, you haven't read that. They're just like shocked when you say that. So I'm happy to be getting to it here finally. How about this week on the channel, guys? Had some fun things. I did a video that I thought I was going to get a lot more negative reaction to. Because I know when it comes to this topic, a lot of people, they can only think with their heart. They can't think with their heads. And I tried to get it across earlier. Guys, if you like these adaptations, that's fine. For me, I feel like they are swinging and missing. That's why I made Why Can't They Get Fantasy Adaptations Right? Now, what I did with this, guys, is I am a business major, a marketing minor. So I feel like I can apply my real-world experience and what I learned in school to kind of apply that to why I think they keep missing so badly on these fantasy adaptations. A lot of them have come out and they've had so many problems and they just completely just disrespect the fandoms when they have a negative reaction to them. And I just kind of want to talk about basically what I would do differently, what I think they're doing wrong and what I would do differently. So it was, I guess you'd say it was kind of like a Bookborn essay. I wish I could do essays as good as Bookborn. That definitely wasn't the format I was going with. But I did get that comparison a lot. And that's an honor. Thank you. I think she does great essays. But I don't know. I was just surprised that most people agreed with me. So I guess I brought up some good points there. But again, with these things, I can always look at it through a business lens and not emotionally. That's why I kind of quit talking about Star Wars, because I will get a little emotional there, because that's something that's very dear to me, and I feel like it's just been completely trashed. But this was focusing more on the fantasy adaptations, The Wheel of Time, The Witcher, Rings of Power, He-Man, Shannara, things like that. The more recent ones that just really were big swings and misses. And I present 10 reasons in there about why I think they're doing these wrong. And most people seem to agree with me. So thank you for the feedback on that video. It was very, very nice, and I wasn't expecting that at all. And I wasn't expecting my September TBR to be just quite so crazy and already be broken before I can even talk about it on a weekly update. I said, guys, I know people have been telling me, be more impulsive. I like to make a schedule because I don't like to get chaotic. I feel like I'll just get chaotic if I don't have a schedule. But I also, if people want to read along with me, I want to give them that option too. So I've had several people be like, great, I didn't want to wait either. I'm picking up the passage now. That's awesome. It seems like most people I know have already read the passage. But I do talk about everything I'm going to read in the month. Of course, the Realm of the Eldlings and Expanse. There's a couple other surprises on there. I already talked about Flowers for Algernon. So it should be a fun month. I think the big shocker there was that Holly by Stephen King wasn't on there. And I explain why in that video. So everybody that's asking me, am I excited for the new Stephen King coming out? Is it next week? It's the 5th, September the 5th. Well, I get an explanation in there about why I don't think that's going to be a day one read for me. But it's King, so I'm sure it'll be read before the end of the year. I did a short, guys, because if you don't know by now, I have said in the past that One Piece, the manga, was probably something that just wasn't for me. I got that feedback from people who knew that they know what I read, they know what I like, and they know what I don't like, and they have all said, I don't think One Piece is going to be for you. Well, One Piece fans insisted so much, they sent me this gigantic box set of the first 23 volumes of One Piece, and it was anonymous. They didn't give the name who did it, so thank you to whoever did that. The big question now has been, am I going to read it? Here's the deal with it. As before, where I was like, no, I never say never on these things. I do feel like there's so many other manga that I want to read that I definitely don't think I'm going to be cutting these in line or anything like that. But my oldest is interested in watching the adaptation that's coming to Netflix, I think, in like a few days. And I know that it covers the first arc, which isn't that long. So I'm debating maybe this week sometime reading that first arc, and so I can watch the show with my kid. But if not, I'll probably be watching the show with my kid regardless, unless he just doesn't like it and we nope out on it. I don't know. But again, I am thankful because that wasn't cheap. That isn't a cheap box set that person sent me. So it's very, very kind of you. And to me, it's just like I was wrong. I got the wrong first impression from that fandom, and I got some really, really negative feedback when I said it probably wasn't something I was going to read. But apparently they are a lot more kind than I gave them credit for. So I wanted to kind of make that short and tell them thank you. And hey, it's definitely not a definitive no anymore. Anything can happen on this channel. Talk About Nothing, guys. Philip and I have already done it, so we decided to do it some more. We did Talk About Nothing some more on a Friday night, and I did not realize it was on the same time as another YouTuber who streams on Friday nights. That was not intentional. I got a lot of, are you starting the Friday Night Wars? No, that was just the time that Philip was available. He just got back from Nepal, and that was the time slot that worked for both of us to talk, because he's about to start back to school and stuff. He's going to be super busy. And I just felt like we hadn't talked in a while. And that's my dude. I missed him, so we wanted to talk. And that's what we did. So we talked for about 2 hours. It's a lot of fun. We got really deep on some Lord of the Rings in there. And that was a lot of fun for me. And I'm thankful we had about 200 viewers the whole time. So it was very cool. I'm glad you guys hung out with us on a Friday night. Always a lot of fun. We could do that. When I can talk to Philip, it's always a learning experience, because I feel like I can learn things while I talk to Philip. And he already got some things across to me about Toll the Hounds, that I wasn't getting at all. And that's why I always love talking to Philip. Is I feel like when you're watching a sporting event and they have a former player on there and they're telling you what's going on, you feel like you're learning something. That's what I feel like when I talk to Philip. I feel like I'm learning stuff about things I've already read that I didn't mention, it didn't catch the first time, and that's a lot of fun. I was a guest over on Jared Henderson's channel. He's got a great channel. He's a lot more philosophical than I, but we're starting to get him into a little more sci-fi and fantasy. He's really gotten into Sun Eater really, really big, and we talked about that a little bit. But that was fun talking to him just as another creator who has a bigger channel than me, hearing about some of the things that he does differently than I. It's a learning experience in that regard as well, because even though I did hit 99,000 subs this week, it's still very interesting to learn about some things that bigger channels are doing to kind of grow their audience. It's always a lot of fun for me to learn. So I am just a student this week, guys. I've just been sucking up all this stuff, all this information, and just kind of learning from others. It's a lot of fun. Always be getting better, guys, and that starts by listening to other people. So how about some next week plans, guys? I was kind of in limbo about some videos this week. I've had some that I've had in the on the list for a while that I was thinking about doing, and I wasn't really sure when or if I was going to get to them. First, it's going to be a surprise review, and I don't want to tell you what that is because you guys, it'll be worth a surprise. Trust me. I think it's going to be something that'll be fun, and it'll be something you guys never expected from me. So I'll probably end up doing that later in the week. I think I'm going to start off the week early. I did recently, like I said, the popular sci-fi that I want to read. Think about doing the same thing with fantasy. What are the most popular fantasy books that I haven't read that I would like to make a priority? And these are going to be ones that everyone's heard of, and everyone's probably going to be like, my God, you haven't read that yet. And then I think Discworld people might be happy finally if I make that video. And then I've got one where it's not really necessarily the same as my classics video, but I'm going to talk about books they made me read in school and the ones that left an impression. Because, and I don't just mean ones like, oh, that book was good or that book sucked or I hated this. Ones that really just kind of stuck in my memory. I'm going to kind of put a spotlight on a few books that they made me read in school. And I think initially I didn't want to read them. And then I ended up having a reaction to them one way or the other, where I felt like they kind of had an impression on me and left a lasting impression from teen years until now. So I'm not really sure where that video is going to go yet. So I bet it's just an idea that I've had. But I think that until I actually sit down and start planning it, I'm not really sure what I'm going to talk about in it. But I think that could be a lot of fun. But that's all I got for the channel this week, guys. But there is some TV and movie talk things before I go. Yes, Dune Part 2 was officially delayed, and I hate Warner Brothers with the Fire of a Thousand Suns. And I hear all the excuses. Oh, well, they want the actors to be able to promote it. I don't think so. Then why is Aquaman still coming out the same date? Yeah, I don't think that has as much power as they think that it does. This would probably fall under my fantasy adaptations for getting wrong kind of thing here, is that these late night talk shows, I don't feel like they're swaying anybody to go see a movie like they think it does. People decide to go see a movie based off of a trailer and word of mouth. That's what they decide to go see a movie off of. I don't think the actor who is going out there and pushing a movie that they are in is anybody be like, oh, wow, I guess I better go see that because this actor I like is saying I should go see it. Again, I might be wrong on this, but to me, I just feel like that's a big excuse. I definitely feel like this is just, making a statement about the strike. And that's fine. I get it. It's just why do you have to do it about the only movie that I wanted to see this year? That's the one you had to do it to. So I feel like that Warner Brothers has just tried to kill the hype for Dune. Every single time this movie gets hype, they just do something to bring it down. Remember they did this with Dune Part 1 as well. They delayed it as well, and then they made it straight to HBO Max. So I don't know what the deal is. I feel like they know that they've got something special on their hands, but they just don't know what to do with it. Ride that hype wave, my friends. You should have let that movie come out this year. Look at what Oppenheimer did. I think it's got a comparable audience to Oppenheimer, and Oppenheimer's had a pretty good box office. So I think that this could have done very well if you'd release it this year. Instead, guys, we get the Marvels. The Marvels has taken the date that Dune had now. Yay. No, I'm not watching Ahsoka. Please stop asking. I do want to talk about the Rebel Moon trailer by Mr. Zack Snyder. Now, I know people have very, very hot takes about Zack Snyder. Most people I come into contact with can't stand him, and that's fine. I get that. Look, I think 300's awesome. I think Watchmen, the director's cut, is one of the best adaptations I've ever seen. It's really good. So I think that Zack Snyder is a visionary. His storytelling can kind of suffer sometimes, but as a visionary, I mean, the guy, just any one of his movies, you can just pause, and there's wallpaper. I mean, it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. And this trailer for Rebel Moon, holy shit, does that look awesome. I love batshit crazy sci-fi space opera, guys. I love it. And that's what this looks like. From what I've understood, this apparently was his pitch for a Star Wars movie, and they told him that it was just too dark for a Star Wars movie. So Netflix said, hey, here's a few million, why don't you go make it? And it's coming out in 2 parts, and I mean, this trailer looks awesome, guys. This looks like what I wanted Jupiter Ascending to be. Remember that piece of shit movie? Jupiter Ascending, like, I thought it had some good ideas, but it felt like they tried to cram like 3 movies into like 2 hours. I think that this is what I wanted that movie to be. It's what it looks like to me. I mean, I hope. And this is just going off of a 2-minute trailer. Don't know very much about it. I know, again, that people love to just dunk on Zack Snyder. Him getting away from superheroes, I think this was a great idea, because I think when he gets away from superheroes, he makes some pretty good stuff. So I'm excited. I'm excited about it. I think it looks just phenomenal. My oldest kid was just like blown away. Or he's like, man, that just doesn't look cheap like the Disney Plus Star Wars shows look. And I was like, Obi-Wan has taught you well. But yeah, we're excited about that. And then, guys, I got to end this by talking about the Scream franchise. Now, you know they're still making Scream sequels. Look, I loved Scream 1 when it came out. I was the target audience for that when it came out. I was a big horror movie fan, and I love how they called out all the rules, and they got so meta with it. It was a great, great idea, and they were never able to actually replicate that with Scream 2 or 3. Now, 2 I thought was still a pretty good movie because I liked Gale and I liked Dewey. I thought that they had a really good storyline in that, and I love that they continued to double down on the rules of horror, and I thought that was really, really cool. 3 was so bad, it was like a franchise breaker for me. I just walked away, and I never went back when they made a 4, even though Wes Craven was directing it, and I think Wes Craven's just a genius. He's one of the masters of horror, no doubt. I finally watched them this week. 4 I thought was okay. That felt like kind of like a Force Awakens, where it felt like you kind of had to correct the ship. That's what it kind of felt like to me. Like they felt like, okay, we got to make up for how bad Scream 3 was, and it was fine. It was fine. The ending, again, whenever they have the Scooby-Doo reveal at the end, it's always like, okay, whatever. And I thought that it had some neat things in it. It was at least watchable. After Scream 3, I would accept watchable. You know, it wasn't awful. Then I watched Scream 5. And guys, Scream 5 was terrific. I mean, I think it's my second favorite in the series now. It just did everything the way that I think that they should have been doing these movies if they were going to keep going with them. It continues to be meta, but it had like one of the best reveals, I think, and it had enough of the callbacks to the original without getting just overly nostalgic. It treated its legacy characters really, really well. It shows that you can pass the torch in a way that's not heavy-handed, and it just did everything great. And actually, you know, I feel like it handled the legacy characters every single way better than Star Wars did. And I'm going to keep dunking on Star Wars. All right, it's just the way it's got to be. But then I got to Scream 6, guys, and I felt like it completely killed all that goodwill. I know a lot of people told me they thought 6 was the best one. What I didn't like the most about 6, of course, the reveal was stupid and predictable, I thought. What I'm not liking about the sequels is, in the first couple, if Ghostface stabbed you, your ass was dead. Now, people are getting treated like pincushions in their living. Like, at the beginning of Scream 5, this girl gets completely destroyed. Lives. Okay, it can happen. It can happen. But there's these 4 characters, they call them the core 4 in these sequels, and every single one of them has been stabbed once, twice, sometimes 3 times. Some have been shot. They just walk it off. They just walk it off every single time. It drives me crazy. It's just like you've depowered Ghostface to the point where if he stabs somebody, no big deal. Unless he actually cuts their throat, they do not die anymore. And that drives me crazy. It just feels like the writers just are afraid to kill characters. And I'm sorry, Scream is not the franchise for you if you are scared to kill off your characters. Also, I think Sam's kind of a crap character. I think the stuff with Skeet Ulrich's the best part about her character. Tara's really cool. I like Tara. I think that God, what's her name? Jenna Ortega. I think she's great in everything I've seen her in. She's really good. I like her a lot. But I don't think that the girl that plays Sam, I don't know the actress's name right now, she's not Neve Campbell. She's not the one to lead your franchise. She's pretty unlikable, and she's pretty much psycho, so I don't think that's the character they should be hanging their hat on. I think what would be really good for Scream 7 is kill her off in the beginning and hand the franchise to Jenna Ortega. That would be my plan. But I don't know. That's just kind of how I feel about it. I'm glad I watched them. I feel like they're at least watchable now. I hope they'll get back to a little bit of realism. If your characters get stabbed, they're dead. What really drove me crazy was in Scream 6, guys, there's one guy is getting stabbed from 2 angles. And he's just getting turned into Swiss cheese. And you think, okay, wow. Okay, so they killed one of them off. No, it's fine. It's fine. And it isn't just that they're getting stabbed and living. They're getting stabbed and they're still like doing all these actions things. It's bonkers how ridiculous it is, and it kind of takes you out of it to a point to where, okay, well, Ghostface isn't that scary anymore. So I don't know. I hope that's something that they'll course correct on with number 7, which has already been announced. But I am glad they're taking it out of Woodsboro finally. It's starting to be like, hey, there's a point where this town is going to be condemned because it keeps turning into a serial killer hotspot every couple of years. But guys, that was my week. What are you guys up to? I'd love to hear in the comments down below what you're watching, what you're reading, what you're listening to, what you're playing, all of those things and more, guys. And have yourselves an awesome weekend.